I will be giving a brand new and improved guide on how to use Taph correctly as a level 139 Taph. I am making this due to the reason that all of the Taph guides now are around from a year ago, so this will be very new and much better because most of the glitches that these people would say are bugged. So this is one of the maps that are still today pretty good for Taph, but back then it used to be so overpowered due to glitches in the game that would allow Taph bombs to be practically invisible. Example here is these lockers used to be very, very cool because you could put tripwires inside of the lockers or under it, and the killer could never see it. This is now patched, but what you can now do is put the trip mines behind some stuff that will work. For example, right here, you can see it will completely glitch out, and in most case scenarios, this is completely impossible to avoid. Another example right here is this. As you can see, it glitches right behind the box, which makes it completely invisible for the killer. Not only to mention that it can go right through the wall and get you, if you're a killer, of course. You can also do the sides of the walls like this, so when you're trying to loop, it will go through and makes it basically also impossible to see unless you're going through a certain way to be able to see it. So over here, you can see on this map, there are a ton of these. They're little hinges. You can throw bombs right at them at a certain angle, and it will cause it to be basically invisible from certain sides. Of course, if you're running like through where I am currently, you'll probably see it, and you can definitely hit it. It's not the best, but it's definitely really good for this map. Here's another example right here, and right here as well. So, as you can see here, there's fire, and when you try throwing stuff at it, it will not actually go into the fire due to a certain reason. So you have to place it on the side. If you were to look on the side, you can see that these are little base plates that they put down to put the fire. So, another thing I see lots of Taphs doing, this is such a terrible thing. I absolutely hate when these people do it. But basically, never ever put a really long tripwire across the map. These are so predictable and super easy to see, and you can see it across the map. It's just so easy to find. Now, this right here is less easy to find and less predictable. It's still predictable, but Also, you can see I messed up here. That was an accident, but you can see I was showing the example right here on how it's supposed to look. But, yeah. Now, I rarely ever see any Taphs do this, except really good ones. But another thing you can do, this is super unpredictable, and this usually works half of the time, but putting tripwires right below fault places, because you have so little time to react to these that you just basically fall into it. Unless you accidentally hit it on accident, which, you know, that just happens. It can be really hard to place these on some areas. For example, up here, it can be really hard to place this due to it having no walls on the side. But, like, basically, if you were to try placing one like this, it will probably not work due to reasons of that people will usually not go those ways. They will sometimes turn and loop around that area instead of just going straight forward, which makes it so that it's pretty useless if you don't place it right. As you can see, unless someone was going straight forward, then this would not work at all. This is probably one of my favorite areas on this map, because the reason why is this is a very common looping spot for most of the killers, which means you can get a lot of XP from this. The way you can do this is by placing a trip mine on the side of the wall, and because of this, since they go through the wall, most of the time you will get XP as long as it's close enough to the wall. As you can see, I placed this down right here, and it makes it completely impossible to avoid for killers due to the reason that you're so close. This is a new area on the map, but as you can see, if you can time it right, you can throw it right up there. So that way, it's kind of hard to avoid, but honestly, I don't think it's that useful. Now, around here, this is honestly one of the worst places to place trip mines besides this little cranny. It can also be quite hard to put it down because, once again, it's super easy to see. I personally don't actually go over here to place my trip wires or trip mines. It's just so bland and open to the point where it makes it so easy to break anything, honestly. Also, as you can see here, this is me placing a trip mine right where I was talking about. And yeah, you can see it's kind of hard to see, but if you're going the right way, you're not going to be able to really do anything about it. I forgot to mention this, but some of the boxes actually are quite nice for placing tripwires next to or trip mines due to the reason that it kind of puts them inside of the area and it makes it harder for you to see anything. So the horror hotel is honestly one of the best areas in my opinion for Taph. It's actually not that bad, but I mainly like its reason for tripwires. It's so good for tripwires, you have no idea. So the first thing you can do right here is, this doesn't always work. Sometimes if you don't place it right, it won't actually go off and it's kind of just useless. You can also place it next to the stairs, but depending on where they're going, it can also just be useless. I forgot to mention this as well, but some generators can be quite good because they're kind of just unpredictable. Most of the time, you don't see people putting their tripwires or trip mines near their generators. So another great place for trip mines or tripwires, it depends, is trip mines can go straight through bushes and are completely impossible to see. Same goes with tripwires. Another thing is that you can't actually place your tripwire on top of a trip mine. You can only place trip mines on top of tripwires. It's very weird. I really hope that they fix this bug one day, if it is a bug, because I absolutely hate when this happens. This one took a couple of tries. For the reason is open bushes can actually be quite harder to put your trip mine all the way inside of, because you have to perfectly aim where it's supposed to be and be far enough where it won't go through it and just be out in the open. If you do these wrong, your trip mine can be really, really vulnerable and can just waste time. Now, the actual reason why this map is so good is because a lot of the fall areas are perfect for putting down tripwires. Right here, you can see that I actually, on purpose, ran down to check to see if you would actually fall into it. Always, and I mean always, do this while you're running, because most of the time when people run off of a fall-off area, they're always running. So, yeah. If you go and actually look where you fell, then you can put the tripwire perfectly on where the killer is going to fall, and it makes it very, very hard to break. Once again, since it's hard to actually even realize it. Some areas also are great for just in general putting tripwires down. They're not going to work that well as well, though. For example, some people might go out through the bottom area. But yeah, it won't usually work for stuff like that. It's mainly just for fallouts. The Cool Carnival. Now, this place, by far, is definitely one of the best areas. This reason is for the fact that most of the ground is completely white. Now, some people will say, oh, but it's actually better for the ground to be black because it's more harder to see it. That is completely wrong, actually. People will always say this for tripwires, but it's actually for trip mines. If you want to place a really good tripwire, you should always place it on white ground because the tripwire is going to be white and the tripwire sticks, I think they're called, are completely black. So you just have to hide those. But as you can see right there, I actually messed up, but it was supposed to go to the other side. But because it's gray or white, it completely makes the string invisible because it's white. Though, once again, if you want to get good trip mines, always put them on the black ground. It's much easier. Or in dark areas, either work. So right over here, you can see that there is a killer go through. I don't know what they're called. I'm so sorry. But what you can do now is you can put tripwires right through like here. And because of the spikes, it makes it so unbelievably hard to see. And in some popular areas for these killer walls, you should absolutely put them there. They're so cool to just have around. And especially for this looping area, it also works pretty well. A glitch that used to work very often, I used to use this a lot, but it wasn't always guaranteed. You used to be able to put the tripwire inside of the Cruel Carnival thingy kebab. I don't know what it's called, but as you can see, I tried putting it in there. It did not work at all. Now, this used to be quite the best map ever for Taph, or what people would say. It's still actually one of the best maps, though. I do mostly agree with this, since it also has a good looping spot. So now that they moved it, I think it actually might have been even better for Taph. So do not, and I repeat, do not ever put trip mines right on the side where it's not usually going to work for the stairs, because if they're going a certain way, it's probably going to be too far for them to go. So you see, they hug the wall usually, and that's how they get up. You can also place one right there, and yeah. I repeat, do not put your tripwires like this. This reason is because when you put this on a looping spot, it will usually not even work, especially if you put it too in. And also, they're very visible as well. I used to think that these worked really well, but in reality, they never worked, and I'd end up wasting a tripwire that I couldn't even break, nor anyone could, because, well, the killer didn't even really care for it. So this is one of the few exceptions when I say do not make a really long tripwire. This reason is because this placement for this fall is so unbelievably good, okay? So you kind of just put it right on across this entire area, and because it has two walls on both sides, it's physically impossible to avoid it. This used to be another good place for Taph due to it having black floors. This isn't as good though for tripwires, but it's amazing for trip mines. It got a rework lately, and something I noticed is they made lots of the bushes much bigger, which means you can actually put trip mines in areas that they will never find for the life of them. Same goes with tripwires, as you can see here. Something I'd recommend is going into first person when placing tripwires, due to the reason it can sometimes be hard to see how the tripwire is going to place once you're about to finish it, and you can accidentally place the stake like more outwards where it's possible to be seen. So right here, they actually basically buffed Taph's area here. I used to use this area specifically a lot due to the fact that the ball pit was rainbow and it made it very hard to see it. But you can now do a fallout there as well. Also, this is kind of off topic, but these two blocks right here are completely, you can completely go through it, which allows you to just put tripwires here, and they're super hard to see. So, if anyone wants to use this for a looping area, you can absolutely do that. Now that you've seen all the good places, let me show you some actual games I played against a 20-plus player who was the killer. So for this round, we had another Taph, but honestly, this Taph was definitely not good, and as you can see, they tried putting a trip bomb right in the open. And yeah, I'll skip to when I actually start getting chased, or when anything actually interesting happens. So after I complete this generator, the killer actually comes in, and as you can see, they're not having too much fun. I make a run for it. You should always make a run for it if they're near, because there's a kind of a delay once you fall down areas. So yeah. So I move over here, and I can see there's another area you can place tripwires. As you can see over here, they completely fall for it. even though they literally watched me put it down. So, as you can see, this completely works. It's not fake or anything. Once again, they fall right for it. So, yeah. So right about here, this is when I realized that I'm gonna be left for last man standing. And as you can see, the last survivor dies. So that means, well, I'm last. Something I don't think a lot of killers realize is, yes, the slowness debuff is super, super weak, but it still works out a lot to the point where you can definitely gain a huge speed buff. So right about here, I actually kind of fumbled a little bit because I got less worried about dying since I knew they weren't going to be able to kill me in time. And I kind of just like ran into a wall. By the way, after this, they rage quit from the game. This is the end of the video, and I hope this guide helped you. If it did, well, happy trapping!